On the 28th of October, 1973, a chestnut horse named Secretariat crossed the finish line at Woodbine Racetrack in Toronto for the last time. He won the Canadian International Stakes by 6.5 lengths on the grass. The crowd stood. Then the stewards posted an inquiry, and within the hour, Ron Turcotte, the man who had ridden this horse to the Triple Crown, was handed a suspension for careless riding. The greatest racehorse in history said goodbye, and his jockey was punished for how they said it. This is the story of how Secretariat's final day on a racetrack became the most complicated farewell the sport has ever known. By late October of 1973, Secretariat was already immortal. He had won the Triple Crown 5 months earlier. His face had appeared on the covers of Time, Newsweek, and Sports Illustrated in the same week. He had been syndicated for breeding at $6,080,000 before he ever ran as a 3-year-old. Every start from that point forward was a farewell. But before this horse left the sport forever, something happened in the first turn at Woodbine that would follow Ron Turcotte for decades. And there is a moment in the final furlong of that race that tells you more about what kind of animal Secretariat was than any of his records. We will get there. But first, the beginning. Secretariat was born on the 30th of March, 1970 at Meadow Stable in Doswell, Virginia. His sire was Bold Ruler. His dam was Something Royal, a daughter of Prince Keio. The breeding was the result of an arrangement between Penny Chenery and Ogden Phipps. Chenery's father, Christopher, owned Meadow Stable but was gravely ill. Each year, the two operations split the resulting foals by coin flip. In 1970, Phipps won the toss and chose first. He took the wrong foal. Penny Chenery got the chestnut colt with 3 white stockings and a star running into a narrow blaze. The foal was big from birth, wide through the chest, deep through the girth. Howard Gentry, the farm manager, said the colt carried himself like he already knew something the rest of them had not figured out yet. He moved through the paddock without hesitation. The older horses gave him space, which was unusual for a foal his age. Lucien Lorraine was the trainer, a French-Canadian horseman on the verge of retirement when Penny Chenery asked him to stay. He was meticulous about conditioning and timing. He ran his barn like a man who had made every mistake once and intended to make none of them again. When Secretariat arrived at Hialeah in Florida, Lauren put him through morning works and stood at the rail with a stopwatch. The clockers said the colt moved like something they had not seen before. His stride was enormous. He covered ground the way a river covers a valley. His front legs reached out so far ahead of his body that the clockers at the rail thought they were misreading the fractions. Ron Turcotte came from a lumber camp in New Brunswick, Canada. He had spent his teenage years cutting timber before he came south to work around racehorses. He was strong for a jockey, broad through the shoulders, quiet with his hands. He did not carry a whip like a tool to be used. He carried it like something he hoped he would not need. Turcotte trusted horses more than tactics. He listened through the reins and felt what the animal wanted to do before it did it. The first time Turcotte sat on Secretariat in a morning work, the connection was immediate. He later said he knew within the first eighth of a mile. The horse did not just run fast. He ran with intention. He ran like the track owed him something and he had come to collect. When Turcotte pulled him up after that first breeze, he sat quietly in the saddle for a long moment before he said anything. The horse was barely blowing. If you appreciate what I am doing here, please subscribe. It means a lot to me. Now let us dive back in. Secretariat's first start came at Aqueduct on the 4th of July, 1972. He finished 4th. He won his next start and kept winning. By the end of his 2-year-old season, he was named champion. But in the fall of 1972, something happened that would cast a shadow all the way to Woodbine. On the 14th of October, Secretariat finished first in the Champagne Stakes at Belmont Park. The stewards ruled he had bumped Stop the Music in the stretch. They disqualified him and placed him second. It was the first time this horse had a race taken away by a ruling. Then Christopher Chenery died. The estate tax bill was enormous. Penny Chenery syndicated Secretariat for stud, 32 shares at $190,000 each, $6,080,000 total. But the agreement came with a condition. Secretariat would be retired to Claiborne Farm at the end of his 3-year-old season. The clock was already running. Turcotte knew it. Every race in 1973 was a countdown. The pressure was not simply to win, it was to justify a price tag no horse in history had ever carried. By the time Secretariat reached Woodbine, Turcotte had been riding under that weight for an entire year. He was not tired in his legs. He was tired in his mind. To understand what happened at Woodbine, you have to understand what happened in the 5 months before it. On the 5th of May, 1973, Secretariat stood in the starting gate at Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby. 134,000 people filled the grandstand. He broke near the back of the field. Turcotte sat still and let the horse find his footing. Then Secretariat began to pass horses, not one at a time, in clusters. He ran each quarter mile faster than the one before it. The final quarter in 23 seconds, flat. He crossed the wire in 1 minute, 59 2/5 seconds. That record has stood for more than 50 years. But the Derby was not the race that made people believe he was something beyond explanation. 3 weeks later, Secretariat lined up at Pimlico for the Preakness. He went wide on both turns and still won by 2.5 lengths. He was accelerating when he hit the wire. Turcotte said he never asked the horse for anything in the stretch. The horse made the decision on his own. And then came Belmont, the 9th of June, 1973, Belmont Park, 1.5 miles. Secretariat went to the front early. By the mile pole, the gap was 20 lengths. Sheik Anderson's voice broke over the public address. He is moving like a tremendous machine. He crossed the finish line 31 lengths ahead. The time was 2 minutes and 24 seconds flat. Turcotte said when he looked back, turning for home, he could not see another horse. He thought for a moment something had gone wrong. Nothing had gone wrong. He was simply that far ahead of everything. After the Triple Crown, Secretariat won the Arlington Invitational. Then he lost the Whitney to a horse named Onion. The loss proved he was a living animal and not a machine. He came back to win the Marlboro Cup, then the Man o' War Stakes on the turf. He handled grass like he had been running on it his whole life. That turf victory set up Woodbine. The Canadian International was meant to be the final act, a grass race in Canada, Turcotte's home country, the perfect ending. It did not go the way anyone planned. On the afternoon of October 28th, Secretariat went into the gate at Woodbine, 1 5/8 miles on turf. When the gate opened, Secretariat broke well, but in the first turn there was contact. Secretariat drifted out and bumped a rival. The race continued. In the stretch, he pulled away, 6.5 lengths at the wire. The crowd gave him a standing ovation. It was the last time anyone would watch Secretariat race. Then the inquiry light went on. The stewards called Turcotte in and suspended him, 3 days for careless riding. On the day the greatest horse in history ran for the last time, the story was about the suspension. Turcotte never accepted the ruling. He maintained the contact was minor, a product of tight quarters, and a horse that was eager leaving the gate. Penny Chenery was furious. It was an echo of the Champagne Stakes. Twice in his career, Stewart's decisions about contact had defined Secretariat's biggest moments. The first time took away a victory. The second time took the shine off a farewell. Secretariat was vanned to Claiborne Farm in Paris, Kentucky, and never saw a racetrack again. He arrived at the same farm where he had been conceived. He stood at stud for 16 seasons. His sons were inconsistent, but his daughters changed everything. Lady Secret became a champion. A grandson named A.P. Indy became one of the most important sires of the next generation. The bloodline did not carry forward the way the breeders expected. It carried forward in its own way, through the mares, quieter but just as lasting. Ron Turcotte continued riding for nearly 5 more years. Then on the 13th of July, 1978, at Belmont Park, he was thrown from a horse named Flag of Leyte Gulf. The fall severed his spinal cord. He never walked again. He returned to New Brunswick and never stopped talking about Secretariat. There is a man in New Brunswick tonight who has not stood on his own legs since 1978. He can still describe the way Secretariat felt underneath him in the Belmont stretch. The pull against the bit. The surge that came from somewhere inside the horse that no one could reach. There is a woman at Claiborne Farm who tends the grave where Secretariat was buried after he was euthanized on the 4th of October, 1989. Laminitis had crippled him. He was 19 years old. She has watched visitors stand there in silence for more than 30 years. Some of them cry, most of them just stand. There is a child somewhere tonight who will one day watch the Belmont tape for the first time and see a horse moving so far ahead of everything else in the frame that it does not look like a race. It looks like a departure. In the final furlong at Woodbine, with no horse anywhere near him and nothing left to prove, Turcotte did not slow down. He ran through the wire with his ears pinned and his stride still reaching. The stewards posted their inquiry. Turcotte was suspended. The crowd went home. But the image that lasted was the horse, a chestnut colt running alone on the grass in the last stride of the greatest career the sport has ever seen. If you like this story, don't miss the next one appearing on your screen.